What's up, everybody? Today we're very excited to have our guest here who's going to teach us all about why my sperm doesn't swim and how we can live till we're 100 years old. And most importantly, why, actually, this is what I'm really excited about, why people who live to 100 are full of with their advice. Right. I thought this was so good because I've had this, I think there's like contrarian in me. So whenever I hear the 100-year-old people going, I smoke a pack a day and I drink whiskey, and I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. And I'm watching you in this interview and this was so validating. You're like, you say something to, oh, by the way, it's Pierre Attia. Oh, what's up, Pierre Attia? How are you? So you said this thing and it was just so validating. You're like, yeah, these people are like super freaks in terms of their ability to live long. They're not doing anything specific.
Yeah. Survivorship bias.
Yeah, so it's like LeBron telling you how to pick up girls at a nightclub, right? It's like, I don't need your advice. I need the guy who's like 5'6", who's getting laid every single night. Can you break down why people who live to 100 are the last people we should get advice from?
So genes don't play much of a role in how long you live up until about 80. So it really turns out what you do matters a lot, plus luck. We could talk about where luck factors in. But for those people that make it to 90s, 100s, they're called centenarians, and then super centenarians, it's virtually all genetic. And what every study of these people has demonstrated is they live long despite what they do, not because of what they do. And to your point, they are on average more likely to smoke, more likely to drink, less likely to exercise, and more likely to eat junk food.
Wow.
So all these people in like Italy who are like, yeah, you just eat pasta once a day. It's like, no, you just got some good genes.
You got great genes.
So does that account for blue zones as well?
Yeah, the blue zones is a totally interesting and different issue going on. This is a very controversial topic, and I fall on one side of it.
Wrong place to do it.
Yeah. So I actually think the whole blue zone thing's a bit of a myth.
Talk that shit.
And I think...
And ice baths, right?
It depends what you're doing them for.
To look cool with your shirt off?
Oh, then it's very good.
Yeah. That is the ice bath, right? It's an excuse to show your body.
It's an Instagram thing. Yeah.
Thank God. Okay, keep going. Blue zones.
So a big problem with the blue zone things is the sort of record keeping of how long people live and birth certificate stuff. There's like a lack of birth certificate integrity. There are a lot of places that reportedly had very high degrees of longevity. And if you follow on the x-axis, like, when did birth certificates get introduced? Like, it vanished. The longevity
They're
vanishes.
just making up how old they are.
Yeah, a lot of that is going on. And then the truth of the matter is there's this whole kind of, people don't understand causality sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you went into the gym and you saw a whole bunch of super fit people running on treadmills,
You would think that
you could be lulled into the belief that Lululemon tights make you fit.
Right.
You could be lulled into the belief that fancy blue over-the-ear Apple headphones are good for muscle mass. Like you could create a story and not realize, no, it's actually all the exercise they're doing that's helping. And people who exercise also happen to wear Lululemon tights and Apple Pod, whatever, AirPods and blah, 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 blah. So the whole thing is just, we tend to infer too much causality from a lot of that stuff. Some of the things that are, assigned to the blue zones make sense. Like, does eating,
diet,
healthier food make more sense than eating junk food? Of course it does. But to think that there are these really specific blue zones and we need to kind of go and figure out everything they're doing, because some of the ideas that are proposed are like exercise less because people in blue zones don't exercise much. And again, I just think that on its face, a lot of that stuff just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So wait, the sauna cold plunge thing, can you parse those two things, and can you explain why cold plunging is kind of bullshit?
Well, I wouldn't say it's bullshit. It's just not. It's not going to make you live longer.
Okay.
There's no evidence, at least, that sauna is going to make you live longer. Pardon me, cold plunge.
Can I ask one thing about cold plunge?
Yeah.
And I know nothing. I'm going to be like the most ignorant person in the audience. This is my experience in doing it. I wonder if it is. Have you ever gone like skydiving?
No.
Have you ever gone bungee jumping?
Nope.
He's trying to live forever.
Yeah, that's right. But then he's also like swimming with sharks to Catalina Island. So I don't know if I believe 100% live forever. But okay, sometimes you do these scary things, and then when you survive them, there's this like release of dopamine.
Yeah.
And it's a positive dopamine.
Yes.
And the positive dopamine makes you feel amazing in the moment. So in 60 seconds, without skydiving or bungee jumping, I get a positive dopamine that makes me feel amazing. Is it just the quickest way to feel good?
First of all, that's actually a great insight, and that's absolutely one of the two pieces of the benefit of cold plunge. So it turns out that our bodies want to preserve a dopamine homeostasis, which just means a balance. So anytime we have something that induces a little bit of discomfort, the body will try to compensate by making more of the sort of positive neurotransmitters, including dopamine. And that's why exercise, by the way, the pain you experience when you go out for a hard run does. So cold immersion has been demonstrated to improve mood, although it turns out not in everybody. So there are a subset of people who just experience the pain. And they don't get any of the positive from it.
So you get nothing when you hop out of the
I don't like cold plunging. I get out and I go, I'm cold. My feet are kind of tingly. My feet are tingly, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I do love saunas.
So, and we'll talk about sauna in a second. The other thing that cold plunge does is it reduces inflammation. And there are times when that's a good thing to do. And there's times when you don't want to do that. So it turns out if your goal of resistance training is to add muscle mass, you actually don't want to get into a cold plunge after.
Because the inflammation is actually bringing blood to those areas.
The inflammation is part of the repair process. And it's the repair process that adds size and strength. Oh. So if a person is saying, hey, I want a cold plunge, but I don't want it to interfere with my strength training, then they kind of have to, we don't know exactly how much separation, but I would say don't do it on the day of, to be safe.
So it shouldn't be this religious thing that people are doing every single day.
I mean, I don't think anything should be a religious thing we're doing every day, but if you're doing it every day thinking it's going to make your, give you immortality, it's not. And if you're doing it every day, then it might have some negative consequences, certainly with respect to resistance training. But again, for some people, for me, the mood effect is really profound.
Oh, it's amazing.
I absolutely love cold plunging.
Yeah, get in an argument with your wife, hop in a cold plunge, get out. You're like, my marriage is perfect. What were we even arguing about?
So, yeah, no, I think, and the other thing that's a little frustrating is nobody knows the exact dose response. So, like
how long you should be
at what temperature, right? So
it just feels like we're competing to go colder.
Yeah.
Like Joe just calls me a pussy every time. I'm like, dude, if it's not 60 degrees, I'm not getting in that fucking thing. But I do feel like guys are going, okay, I could be at 37. Dove was trying to be at, I forget what it was, maybe 45 for 2 minutes. But if you're not really getting any different.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've tried to figure this out so many which ways. Actually, this would be a great question for me to put to one of the research AI engines and see if they can just pull all the data. Because a lot of the studies will do long immersion at modestly cold temperatures, so 55 degrees for 30 minutes.
Right.
But I don't want to take 30 minutes. I'm not going to do that. So it's got to be colder.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't have the answer. I do 42 degrees for 10 minutes.
You're in there for 10 minutes.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. Is that better than doing 35 degrees for 5 minutes? I have no idea. But the reason I can't keep it at 35 is my wife won't get in it. And so then I'm just going to be turning the temperature up and down and up and down. So 42 is about the lower limit that she'll put her legs in. She won't just sit in that.
Go in together.
Yeah, but she'll stand in it and I'll immerse, I'll go to my neck.
I mean, you don't got to call her a pussy. You know what I mean? We could have just thought she was into her neck too. Yeah. So wait, so you're both in. What are you doing for those 10 minutes? Are you like?
First of all, she will not even put her legs in for 10 minutes. So she'll be like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm going to go someplace else.
But do you get any benefit out of just putting
Yeah, you do. I think for her, because she's a runner,
you get to make your wife uncomfortable for 10 minutes.
She wants to, if she goes for a long run, she loves to get in there after and
just
get the inflammation on her legs. Yeah.
I want to go into your background a little bit because I think your background is very interesting. And then I want to go into all these different versions. We would call them and I don't want to be reductive, but health hacks, life hacks, biohacks. Do you not like that term hack?
I don't.
In comedy, we hate that term. It's it's the worst term for anything that has to do with comedy. So benefits or whatever you want to replace with it. But your life is quite interesting. So your parents are from Egypt. Yep. They moved to Toronto.
Yep.
You were born in Toronto?
Yep.
Okay. You want to be a boxer. How does that even happen where you're training and you decide you want to be a boxer? And how supportive of your Egyptian parents
immigrant parents
who see this clearly brilliant young man who's doing great in school, I imagine.
And I wasn't, but
really?
No.
Yeah, he's getting punched in the head every day.
Yeah, maybe that's part of it. So boxing, where does boxing?
So it all happened in April of 1985.
Okay.
When marvelous Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns fight, the greatest fight to this day that I've ever seen.
That opening round, bro.
Yeah. The most violent,
just insane.
3 minutes of boxing ever.
I think Hearns breaks his right hand on Hagler's head.
Hagler's head is the hardest head in the history of the sport. And
his defense was just walking straight in with his head forward. It's like Juggernaut. It's amazing.
Yeah, and you have to remember, I mean, you know this because you're a big boxing fan. Nobody expected that. Like, you just didn't think, you thought like Hagler was going to counter punch. Hagler was going to try to take him the distance. No, he was like, no.
I'm walking through you.
I'm walking right through you.
Yeah.
And Hearns won the first round.
Yeah.
I mean, any other person
is down.
Would have been done.
Yeah.
That no human at 160 pounds could have survived that fight.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was just something about that just, I don't know why. Like, I'm watching that and I'm thinking, I want to be that guy.
Was your dad a big boxing fan?
Nope. And I just was like, I want to be that guy, Marvin Hagler. That's the one I want to be. What? Because
he just stalked him.
Yeah, I was like, because I realized like he wasn't. And then, of course, as I became obsessed with Hagler and began to learn everything about him retroactively, and I realized like, he's the guy that I want to be because he's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, he's not the fastest, he's not the best at anything, but in aggregate, he is the best.
Yeah.
And he's the best because his will is second to none. And the other thing is, most boxers don't stay in shape all year. They kind of...
He was committed.
He never got out of shape. So training camp was just finishing school.
Yeah. Wow. Which is also tough on the body. I mean, we can get into that. Like, sometimes you need a break for the intensity that these guys train.
Yeah. I really regret when he was inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame, I really regret that I didn't go as like a fan just to see it. Because, of course, he died in 2020 or 2021, died too young.
He's like... Now we're going deep cut, but Hagler's so fascinating because he quits boxing, I believe, after the Leonard fight.
Yep. He wanted a rematch. Leonard wouldn't give it to him. He basically just got pissed and moved to Italy and started making movies.
He becomes a movie star in Italy.
Yeah.
He's like the first black guy in Italy. And then he just becomes a movie star. So have you seen any of Hagler's?
I've seen a few.
This is a real fan. Okay. How's the acting?
It's not that great. Definitely a better boxer.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's interesting that Leonard wouldn't give him another shot because Leonard wasn't a scared fighter.
No, I think Leonard, look,
Also, did you give that decision to Leonard or?
No, 115, 113 Hagler.
I think
I've watched that fight 100 times.
Yeah.
I hated Leonard when I was growing up, despised him, couldn't stand him. And then when he got that decision against Hagler, I thought it was the most disgusting thing ever. I will say this, today, my respect for Leonard is enormous. Like now I look back and I think like, my God, was that guy special.
Unbelievable. And he fought a really strategic fight against Hagler. Like he avoided that kind of contact. Tommy was like, I'm going to knock you out. And why would you not think that? You're knocking everybody out.
Yeah.
And Leonard was like, I'm going to wait till the last 30 seconds of the round. My corner's going to yell and I'm going to start swinging. And if it lands, it lands. If it doesn't, but I think I can steal rounds. And I think he did a good job of that.
Yeah, I think in retrospect, I mean, as you probably know all of this, but Hagler sold the fight, right? So in exchange, Hagler demanded a higher purse than Leonard. This was a very important thing to Hagler's ego because, Hagler, remember, no Olympic glory. He toils in obscurity for a decade. Nobody knows who he is before he's finally a champion. And Leonard, the golden boy, I mean, he's livid with how this guy had everything handed to him, right? Yeah. So the point of pride for Hagler was, I'm going to make more money in this fight.
I'm going to be the A side.
Yeah, I'm getting more money.
Yeah.
And to do that, he traded three things. He traded duration.
What do you mean?
This was back in the day when the IBF still sanctioned 15-round fights.
Oh, so what did they make?
He sold down to 12.
That's right.
Ring size, 24 down to 20.
That's right.
Glove size.
Which I don't think was a benefit to him to have a smaller ring.
Sorry, he traded bigger rings. He went up. Yeah, traded up. Sorry. Yeah. He traded up in ring size and he traded up in glove size.
The glove size is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, he came out and boxed orthodox for the first.
He thought he could trick him. Just a bad decision. Just like
it was a series of blunders.
And still, whatever. From watching it, I had him winning, but again, close fight.
Yeah.
So then from that day, you start boxing.
Yeah.
And then the parents go, "What is this stupid little hobby?"
Yeah, they were just, this is an awful I think they were wisely mindful of that you get hit in the head, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
we
come
could've
home with
stayed in
black
Egypt.
eyes. Yeah. I think so how old was I? I'm trying to think. I guess I was 13. Yeah, 12, 13. I think by the time I was in high school, it was probably a bit more of a concern because, I didn't want to go to college. I didn't like school. So they were definitely concerned.
Hello everyone in Dubai. Andrew Schultz here. It's come to my attention that the Chamakis have been acting up again. Yeah. Looks like they might need another talking to. So I've spoken to my podcast co-hosts, and we've decided to take our talents back to the Emirates to give another spanking to those VTech driving naughty little rascals. We're going to be going out there. We're going to be doing some stand-up, maybe a little live podcast action at the Coca-Cola Arena, October 7th. We'll see you all there. Very excited to try that Dubai chocolate. And no, I don't mean when a prince shits on a hooker's chest. I'm talking about the actual chocolate, so don't get your ideas whirling and swirling. We'll see you soon.
Cuckoo! Tour dates. Your boy's going to be in Dania Beach, Fort Lauderdale this weekend, September 11th through the 13th. I don't know why they gave me that date, but they did. September 25th through 27th, I'm going to be in Cleveland, Ohio. Dubai, October 5th. I'm pretty sure tickets are sold out, but they might have released some more, so go there. October 16th through 18th, Rhode Island. Also, there's more dates on the website, but one I will shout out, October 23rd through 25th. We've already sold out one show, so y'all should buy your fucking tickets to that because they will sell out. But those dates and more at akashsingh.com. We got some big announcements coming in a couple weeks. Can't say what they are, but I'm very excited. We'll get back to y'all soon. God bless. Guys, there's a lot of cities where you can suck Mark Gagnon's dick coming up. I hope you're ready. October 23rd, Nashville, Tennessee. October 24th, Mobile, Alabama. Stop sucking your brother's dick and suck Mark Gagnon's. October 25th, New Orleans, Louisiana. Hey guys, I'm gonna be honest. I went there. It's one of my favorite cities in America. The comedy market is dog shit. Prove me wrong. Go to Mark Gagnon's show. Try to suck his dick. November 16th, Hoboken, New Jersey. I forgot November 9th, Denver, Colorado. November 23rd, Philadelphia. December 5th, Fort Wayne. December 6th, Detroit. Those tickets are available at markgagnonlive.com. Now let's get back to the show.
How do you end up going to Stanford if you weren't good at school?
So at the very end, as I'm finishing high school, I have this amazing experience with this incredible teacher who really saved my life. His name was Woody Sparrow, and he was my math teacher. And he called me into school early one day and said, hey, I heard you're not going to university. And I said, yeah, that's right. And he said, well, say a bit more why. And I told him why, and he said, well, look, I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. I mean, if that's your dream, I don't think anybody should talk anybody out of their dreams, which right off the bat, I thought was an awesome thing to say, right?
Yeah.
And then he just said something that I thought was, it just changed the course of my life forever. He goes, I just think it would be a mistake if you didn't go because you'd be, you have a gift for math that I don't think you realize. And if you don't pursue it, you'll never find out. And I think you could do some good things doing that. And that, I don't know why, there was something about Woody saying that really changed everything. And I really gave it thought, and I really decided to come back for that extra year of high school and then, follow in his footsteps actually. So then I went on to do math and engineering in undergrad, which is what he had done. And he was an engineer as well.
Could you get into a school like Stanford with just one good high school
So
year?
for undergrad, I went to school in Canada.
Got it.
And then I went to Stanford for med school.
Got it. And this is, when do you become surgeon?
After medical school, then you apply to do this thing called a residency, where you then apply all over again, and you apply to all these hospitals, and you can decide
Right.
you decide what you want to do and where you want to do it.
Okay. At what point in time do you realize you're pre-diabetic? Because the lore in your life is so fascinating. Like, you could have been punch drunk, then you skipped out of that because of Captain Jack Sparrow or whatever. and then you go and you become an engineer, mathematician, then you decide to become a surgeon. There's also some health issues, which I think shift the course of your life.
It was around the time I swam the Catalina Channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catalina Channel is Los Angeles. There's an island off of Los Angeles 20 miles away, let's say, around.
Depending on what part you swim to, yeah. The closest point's like 21 miles.
Right. And you willingly chose, it wasn't some sort of punishment that you had to do. You decided to
Escaping
swim.
Alcatraz.
That's what it feels like, right? So, okay. So you find out that you're pre-diabetic. Pre-diabetic, this is not like based on diets. This is not based on lifestyle, right? This is genetic.
No, I mean, I think it was, I kind of look back at those days, and I think there were probably a lot of contributing factors. I think my diet was a little too carb heavy for my own good, despite the fact that I was swimming 28 hours a week.
You were just eating kosher every night or what?
What was I eating? Like, I mean, I was like,
Do you know what that is? The Egyptian dish? Oh, ask your parents what kosher is. Yeah.
I was, drinking too much Gatorade, probably not sleeping enough for sure. I definitely wasn't sleeping enough. And sleep, not sleeping, plays a huge risk factor in diabetes.
Okay.
So I think it was just kind of like a perfect storm of things.
Okay, so you get
and
this...
I was, just overweight.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. I imagine if you're swimming to Catalina Island, you're just kind of ripped. So when do you, like, how big were you?
Probably like 25 pounds heavier than I am now.
Interesting. So you're not fat to the point where you're like, I'm going to have a problem in my life.
I mean, my wife famously said when I got off the boat, this was, I think, not the first time. This was the second time. You know what I'm about to say?
Someone tried to feed you a fish?
No. Literally, I'm just... This was after the swim that took 14 and a half hours into the current. Yeah. I get on the boat and she says, you should work on being a little less, not thin.
Wow. So all of your research is really her credit. You know what I mean? She bullied you into this.
She shamed me into it.
Wow, thank goodness.
Okay. So
I wish I could find it, but someone took a picture of, as she's saying that, I got a Coke in one hand, a burger in the other, my belly's hanging out over my bathing suit.
Wow.
And she's like, yeah, congrats. But listen, let's work on this thing
a little more elliptical, you know?
Okay. So what happens? When do you apply? Just from doing research on you and just kind of like talking to you, it seems like there's a very obsessive side of you. And that if you can turn that obsessive thing into boxing, with swimming to Catalina, or whatever it is, once you lock in, you're locked the fuck in. When do you lock the fuck in on longevity?
Around that time. So my daughter is born in 2008. And as you now know, I think there's just the most incredible thing happens to a guy when the child is born that, at least for me, didn't happen even at 20 centimeters dilated. Like, I think for women, they're becoming attached to that baby throughout the pregnancy.
Yep. And we're just like, what is it? Yeah,
and we had this cat at the time that I was obsessed with, and my wife never lets me live this down. I would routinely say every night, and our cat's name was Midnight, I was like, I hope, I don't know, but I hope I can love our daughter as much as I love Midnight. But I loved Midnight. This.
And Midnight's awesome.
This
Midnight,
is the podcast. We need honest conversations between you and your wife. That's the podcast.
And a cold plunges. I love Midnight.
I mean, we rescued this little alley cat in inner city Baltimore.
Right.
I mean, she was so precious. And so I was like, yeah. And so when my wife is in labor,
that's great.
I was like at my laptop in the side of the room, building a model, doing work. And she's like, I'm having a baby over here. And I was like, as soon as that baby's out, I will be there, but I have to get this stuff done. And again, I just
what?
Yeah.
You're crazy.
Her shot at you was totally justified. Totally justified now. Her dissing was great.
The point is,
he's like to tell you you're fat.
He's like, baby, breathe. Once that baby came out, there are a whole new set of genes that just get transcribed.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, I get it. And I do wonder, does that happen to, like, would Bill Maher experience that? Someone who so famously doesn't like kids.
And I think the answer is yes. I think there are certain people, maybe they have a genetic disposition where they don't care.
Yep.
Maybe there's a little more sociopathy or whatever that's called. But I think, assuming that Bill is just a regular guy like us, I think the same exact thing.
If you don't love your kids, I mean, it must be pathological.
Yeah.
Like, to a degree. I don't want to diagnose someone, but it feels like there's something, unhuman happening.
Well, and I think this is an interesting guess for which I have no data, but just through the lens of evolution, I think it even makes sense for males to have this feeling greater than females. And here's why. If you think back to evolutionary times, right? Think back to 100,000 years ago, there was no ambiguity for the woman who her child is.
Right. Mm-hmm.
She carried the child.
Yep.
The male does not know who his child is.
Yep.
So there has to be some other
I still
switch.
I'm just hoping they got it right. I'm looking at her every day like, I think that's me.
So I'm convinced that there's some other switch, either through, you know, the smell of your kid or something that completely switches the male on. So he's like, yep, that one's mine. Like, no one gets to hurt that one.
Yeah. So you felt that immediately.
I can't believe it. I can't believe how profound it was.
Yeah.
And to your question, that I've taken too long to answer, I think that was the moment when all of a sudden I was like, oh, you know, all this other shit I'm interested in, swimming far and doing all these extreme things. Yeah, that doesn't interest me nearly as much. You know what really interests me is I would like to live long enough that I get to see her have a kid one day and that I get to experience this again and again and again.
Dude, one of the first thoughts, I don't know the first thought, but one of the first thoughts I had when I held my daughter was, I wish I didn't wait so long to do this so I could spend more time with you. 41 now, so I had her at 40.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think those are under the same umbrella, which is like, how can I be around you longer? And I know that, you know, we have limited time here. And I know at 40 instead of 20 or 30, I've shaved off a decade or two that I could be with you. I don't regret the decision. I waited for the perfect person to do it. I'm glad I did. But like this impulse to be around them, spend time with them, it smacked me in the face. It was insane. So it would be cool to know that there are like some sort of like genes that get turned on in that experience.
Again, I'm sure somebody out there smarter than me has figured it out, but that's been my impression.
Okay, so you have the experience, which let's assume a lot of dads do, which is like, okay, I kind of need to be fit. I kind of need to be healthy so I can be around. It's a great motivator. It's like the best motivator. I think there's even like a biblical term, like every baby comes with a basket of bread. This idea that like you start making more money when you have a kid, and it might just be the urgency. It's like, I should take that gig. Yeah. I should do that thing. It's funny, even after having my kid, like I don't think I've done drugs since. And I was never like a drug guy, but like a little here and there. But it's like, is it worth the risk? Like this one night, God forbid something's in it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even really drink anymore since having a kid.
Isn't that?
Yeah. Just like, I mean, also waking up early. You know what I mean?
I mean,
yeah, I'm like, I can't be hungover. I have to be up at 6:30.
Yeah.
Like, so there's so many things that get tapered down in like early childhood.
100%.
Have you heard that new parents or new dads will gain body weight in the months around the birth? I don't know if
I have heard this. I don't know if it's.
That's because these women be eating.
I don't know if it's been validated, but
and you can't just let them eat dessert, right?
Yeah.
And then they feel guilty. No, we're just being good supportive husbands. Okay, so you lock in on longevity, right? And at the time,
although truthfully, when I started thinking about it, all I thought about was heart disease at the beginning,
because
that's the disease that kills my family, and so my foray into it was really through, I really want to understand heart disease, and I really want to understand why all the men in my family die of heart disease, and what do I need to do to make sure that, you know, at the time my daughter's born, I'm 35, so what do I need to do to make sure I'm not dying at 60? Like, you know, I mean, some men in my family died at 45.
From heart disease?
Yeah, from heart attacks.
Jesus Christ.
So
okay.
What is the first thing when addressing heart disease? Is that diet?
Not necessarily. I mean, I didn't know this at the time, but I now can tell you with much more clarity. You know, heart disease obviously has a pretty strong genetic component, but at the end of the day, there are 4 big modifiable things you just have to manage. Like, you can't smoke. Your blood pressure has to be below 120/80. Your lipids need to be perfectly dialed in, and you want to be as insulin sensitive as possible. And if those 4 things are true, I mean, you're set for life.
Gotcha.
Now, some people can do that with diet, some people can do it with exercise, and some people need drugs to do it. Everybody's different. But.
Okay. I'm curious about the heart disease stuff, because I'm on a statin. I remember going in to get some of my heart check. I think it was actually like when we were trying to have a kid, it was really difficult, and I was like having breathing problems, and it was really just caused by stress. Yeah. But I was like, let me get my heart checked and that kind of shit. And then the doctor came and was like, yeah, you've got some calcification, like a very minor calcification. And I thought he was like lying to me. I was like, me? I'm like exercising every single day. I'm in like pretty decent shape. I couldn't believe. He's like, yeah, we recommend this like statin. I was like, I'm on a fucking blood pressure medication. Like, what the hell is going on? What is your feeling on using pharmaceuticals to essentially prevent these illnesses? And what are the potential negative side effects of that?
So the short answer is, if you had a house that was being built by a general contractor, and that contractor came to you and said, Andrew, I just want you to know, I don't believe in saws, hammers, and screwdrivers, but I like all of these other tools. You'd be like, what are you talking about? Shouldn't you have all the tools? You're the general contractor. And so I always find it amazing when I run into people of all persuasions who say, I will only use diet and exercise to fix myself. And at the other end of the spectrum, you have these people that are like, give me every drug in the world, but don't tell me about exercise and nutrition. It's like, do you understand how hard the problem is we're trying to solve? Like, do you understand the inevitability of death?
You said this once, like, everything is working against you.
Yeah. Like, entropy is dragging you into the grave. If you need a medication to lower your blood pressure, you take that medication to lower your blood pressure.
Right.
Now,
You should
will
try
weight loss
to do
help?
it naturally first.
Sure, by all means, because there are other benefits that come. So in other words, if you take an individual that is overweight, not exercising, and has high blood pressure, if you said to me, Peter, would you rather give them a drug to lower their blood pressure or get them to exercise and lose weight to do it? If they both produce the same blood pressure, no questions asked, this is a better approach because there are other benefits that are being captured through exercise and weight loss beyond just the blood pressure. But if that person either just can't or won't do those things, I'm not going to be punitive and say, well, you're not working hard enough. Sorry, I'm going to withhold this. No, of course not. And secondly, you can do both because a lot of people end up losing weight, they exercise, but they still have what's called essential hypertension. They have normal, healthy looking people that are walking around with high blood pressure. It's a silent killer.
Yeah. That is the tricky thing, is that so much is aesthetics. We look at somebody in shape and assume that they're healthy. And a lot of what's going on under the hood is the thing that could end up killing you.
Yeah. And the same is true with lipids, right? Like lipids are even more genetically determined than blood pressure.
What are lipids?
So our body makes cholesterol. It's essential for every cell in your body needs cholesterol to exist. And the most important hormones in your body are made out of cholesterol. So testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, all made out of cholesterol. And because cholesterol is a lipid, it's a fat, it can't travel in our bloodstream because our blood's water without a chaperone, without something to carry it that makes it soluble. And those things are called lipoproteins. And they have different densities, and one of them is called low density lipoprotein, LDL.
That's your LDL levels. Got it.
And that LDL does some good things, but it does some really bad things. And it's the only one that does this really bad thing. I guess the VLDL does it too. But it enters an artery wall, and if it gets stuck in that wall, it undergoes a chemical process called oxidation. And the body, regrettably, but understandably, thinks that there's a problem there, and it excites an immune response. And the immune response leads to a cascade of events that ultimately result in the body trying to repair the damage, the final stage of which is the calcification that showed up on your CT scan. So the calcification you see on coronary arteries is the result of the body laying down concrete on Chernobyl.
Got it. So what does the statin do? Stop the body from laying down the concrete?
No.
Or stop?
The statin, very specifically, because there are lots of different drugs that treat this, but what statins do specifically is they tell the body to make less cholesterol. The liver, in response to that, says, I'm going to make more LDL receptors on my surface to pull more LDL out of circulation. So they lower the LDL cholesterol by tricking the liver into thinking it needs more of it.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Now, to your question about a side effect, of all the drugs that are used today that lower cholesterol, statins have the most side effects.
Oh, Jesus. I don't even know if I want to know them.
Well, the good news is you clearly don't have the most significant side effect, which is muscle soreness. 5% of people get muscle soreness.
Got it.
So that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
When you think about how frequently these drugs are used, 1 in 20 people is going to feel like they've had the worst workout of their life every day.
Wow.
So this shows up pretty quick.
Okay, so yeah.
So you get that, you take them off the drug immediately, that goes away within days. Then there are other side effects that are more subtle, and you just have to be watching for them. And one of them is insulin resistance. So if you see over time glucose tolerance getting worse and worse, in my book, that's a reason to stop using a statin. The other thing is sometimes the liver function tests get a little, liver enzymes that are known as liver function tests get a little elevated. That's also a reason to do it. But again, 20 years ago, you didn't have a choice. Today, when I hear people go on these anti-statin rants, I'm like, okay. Like, don't go on a statin. Like, go on a PCSK9 inhibitor, go on ezetimibe, go on bempedoic acid. Like, there are so many other cleaner drugs today that are more expensive, and we don't have, so they don't have necessarily, and they're not. Some of them are not as potent as statins, although PCSK9 inhibitors are. That it's become a little bit of a silly excuse if your LDL cholesterol, your ApoB, which is really the marker of interest, is too high, it's an unforced error. It's an own goal to walk around with elevated levels.
Got it. But so you're not essentially against a statin?
Not at all. No.
Got it.
Not at all. It's again, and for most people, they can tolerate them just fine.
I'm sure this is happening a lot in your industry as it's exploded, but in an effort to make content, I feel like people are looking for their hot take on a very popular thing, and they are disseminating potentially harmful information so that they can get attention and clicks.
Yeah, this is what I envy so much about your world. Like, when you're a comedian, your hot take just needs to be funny.
Yeah.
Like,
you would think.
And it's like,
but now apparently we get presidents elected, so this is not the best thing. But go on.
Yeah, but in my world, you're right. It's how can I make something more frightening? How can I show you something more contrarian? How can I be more extreme?
We talk about this all the time. The truth is boring, and you can't get clicks on boring. So a lot of times people will find a way, not always boring, obviously. There's a lot of novel research and you change things, but like it is whoever is most salacious is going to win the eyeballs on the internet. But that's not maybe what's going to make people healthy.
Right.
All right, guys, we're going to take a break real quick so we can talk about Built. If you're into points, this is a must for you. You got to use Built because you'll probably get your points on your dining purchases and your travel expenses. But the biggest expense of all, if you're a renter, is rent. So why not get points for that? Your biggest monthly expense. Paying rent with Built unlocks flexible points that can be redeemed toward hundreds of hotels, airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, student loan balances, and more. But here's where it gets even better. Built isn't just about points. They're actually helping you build credit by reporting your rent payments to credit bureaus for free. So if you're trying to build up good credit and you're paying your rent on time, Built will tell them, and that will help you establish good credit. And if you want to buy a house someday, that could be huge. Having a better credit score can give you better interest rates. And on top of that, when you're ready to buy a home, you could redeem Built points you've been racking up toward a down payment on the home. You know how fucking insane that is? That renting, just by renting and using Built, you can help with your down payment on a house. And I know I've mentioned it can be converted to your favorite airline miles and hotel points, but I really mean this. Some of the biggest players in the world are involved. United, Southwest, Hyatt, Marriott, and more. You paying rent can literally help you pay for your next vacation. So if you are renting, you're paying rent, Built can reward you for it no matter where you live or who your landlord is. Start by paying your rent through Built today by going to joinbuilt.com/flagrant. That is joinbilt.com/flagrant. Now let's get back to the show. All right, guys, we got to take a break real quick so I can talk to you about soda. I actually know that this works because my brother did it and lost triple-digit weight. If you want to lose weight quickly, not too quickly, but quickly, you need to check out Soda Weight Loss. SOTA, it stands for State of the Art. It is designed to help you lose weight fast while keeping your blood sugar balance and your appetite under control. They have weight loss nutritionists that treat clients nationwide and internationally. And the Soda Weight Loss promise to every new client is you will look and feel 10 years younger. My brother has lost like 100 pounds. I'm not even bullshitting. Soda's weight loss nutritionists support you and coach you every step of the way. They have an easy and convenient diet plan. It doesn't leave you hungry and it leads to faster fat loss. So take control of your weight loss journey with Soda Weight Loss. Go to SOTAweightloss.com and use the promo code FLAGRANT to save big. Guys, do this. It's not the easiest, but it's so fucking worth it to lose a lot of weight and it helps you keep it off. I know multiple people who have lost tons of weight and kept it off with this program. Let's get back to the show.
Can I ask you a controversial one in regards to insulin resistance? I recently just read Jason Fung's book, The Obesity Code, which you're mentioned in. Actually, I'm sure you knew this.
I don't.
There's a reference to you swimming in it. But he talks a lot about insulin resistance and insulin production in regards to fasting and intermittent fasting. So I'm curious your opinion on both forms of fasting and how that relates to weight gain, in comparison to, calories in, calories out, that type of...
Mark fasts.
I love fasting.
He does
Intermittent
He
fasting.
does intermittent fasting. He's also, been our friend for a decade, and we've known him not doing it. And nothing has changed in his body. He looks no different. His body hasn't changed for 7 years. He doesn't eat for 2 days in a row now. He looks exactly the fucking same.
Yeah.
What would you call him? Retarded? What is the,
No.
What do you call people like that?
No.
Yeah.
Eating disorder, body disorder.
no.
Yeah.
You guys are jealous.
Can we
You guys are
diagnose
jealous. I'm
him as?
deeply in autophagy right now, so I'm actually elevated. I see things better than you guys. I'm seeing in color.
That's the other bullshit he says, is that when he doesn't eat, he gets really focused. No, he has 4 Zins in his foreskin, and then he's really alive.
Well, we gotta do that. We gotta do
Can
that.
you not Zyn when you're fasting?
You can if you do low doses, and especially if you do the unflavored ones, because sometimes
You see this
You
bullshit?
are kidding me.
Yeah, it's bullshit. He's already talking to himself as
I'm telling you, I'm the
our Jewish
dumbest
friend
health
eats
guy ever.
shellfish. We always have ways around the system.
I'm the dumbest
Can't
health guy.
do the flavored Zyn because it breaks the fast.
If in high doses, sometimes it will trigger. Dr. T, let me tell you about health. I'm so glad you're here. I'm actually so excited to explain this to you, okay? I always tell you, I'm the dumbest guy when it comes to health stuff because I'll see something. I just bought a vagus nerve stimulator because I'm like, oh, this is the thing. And so anytime I see
and tell me,
I see medical quackery and I go, this is what I need. Speaking of which.
the mint. Yeah.
I won't take one.
Go. Here you go. Sorry. There you go. Are these bad for us? These are.
Depends on what dose.
Mine is statin.
How many milligrams are these?
6.
This is 6.
Oh, that's too much for me.
Wait, really?
I can only do 3 at a time.
You do the 3s?
I do 3s, yeah.
Do you want? Well, you
I got my nicotine toothpicks here.
That's what that was.
I knew it. I knew it.
I had no clue why he was saving the toothpick on the couch. He took it out, he laid it on the couch. I'm like, what the fuck is this toothpick? He's gonna hurt your meal or what? He's got a toothpick he's saving for later.
The son of immigrant parents, you know what I mean?
Okay, tell us about your vagus nerve stimulator.
I mean, where do we start? First, I want to know about intermittent fasting, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How dumb am I? I have a fasting window from 4 to 6. I do high protein, high fat, low carbs. Am I an idiot?
No, you're definitely not an idiot. I just think you might be over-indexing on something. All available data.
That's Mark's life.
I know.
Just described his
all
personality.
available data says that the benefits of intermittent fasting are accrued through the amount of calories you restrict.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, and this has been studied. So if you take 2 groups of people and one group of them does 2,000 calories spread out over the course of the day, and the other group does the exact same 2,000 calories, but they eat them in 6 hours or 4 hours. There's no difference, except that the people who do intermittent fasting have a tendency to lose a bit more muscle. Why? I'm not sure.
I got a counterpoint. Someone Google it.
It could be that they're not fully normalized for the same amount of protein. It could be that they're putting too much protein in one time of day and then they're not getting enough muscle protein synthesis during the time when they're fasting. I'm not really sure. And it could be that we just simply don't have the studies done right and maybe there is no difference or, maybe there is a difference. But intermittent fasting is an awesome tool for people if it's, in some ways, it's the easiest way to calorie restrict. And at the end of the day, calorie restriction is a really important thing to create energy imbalance. Energy imbalance is necessary if you're metabolically unhealthy.
So
in other words, you have to create an energy deficit if you're metabolically unhealthy.
So having frequent insulin spikes throughout the day has no effect on overall muscle mass or weight loss compared to having one insulin spike in the middle.
According to all of the data we have, it does not.
Not just a little bit, all of the data. You're doing that shit for nothing. You could be eating all day, Mark.
No, see, and I could be like these guys.
But maybe
Thank
not,
you,
right?
good doctor.
Because in
Thank you.
other words, I don't know if for you. And by the way, when I needed to be at my absolute lightest, which was 15 pounds lighter than I am now, I was doing one meal a day too. not because I thought it was giving me some enormous health benefit, but because it was simply the easiest way to restrict my calories, was to basically, I don't know how the hell I did it. It was so miserable to get up, work out, not eat, stay all day, come home, do another workout, then eat dinner, and then go to bed and do it all over again.
Imagine what it's like for your friends and family who have to fucking hear about it.
I don't talk about it. I don't even say anything. I never bring it up.
Have you considered
one
them?
of my favorite stickers. There's this place in Austin that always has like a funny slogan outside of it, and they had one the other day that said, what happens if a vegan does CrossFit? Which do you hear about first?
So good. He was doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
He is everything but vegan. He's like almost there.
No, I wouldn't do vegan.
exact opposite.
I wouldn't do vegan.
You also said you needed to be your lightest. You were doing one meal a day?
Yeah.
What was that need for?
Oh, for cycling.
Oh, so not for doing stand-up on the weekends sometimes? Just checking.
That's funny. What about that was good. You got it.
Mark, you're done. You're done with the fasting.
No,
Okay.
I have 20 more dumb things I do. So I can
no,
go
we're
here
gonna
on
go
all.
I
through
do
all of
want to
them.
hear about the vagus nerve
Here's another
stimulator.
dumb thing he does. He fasts for like 2-3 days at a time. Is
Very
that,
infrequently, but yes.
but is that good or is that bad?
I don't know.
Does
I
that
mean, I
create
used
an
to do
eating
that.
disorder?
I used to fast like crazy. I used to do 7 to 10 days a quarter. Like at the top of the quarter, I would do 7 to 10 days straight fast. And then on the other 2 months in the quarter, 3 days. So I would do like 10 days, 3 days, 3 days, 7 days, 3 days, 3 days, 10 days, 3 days, 3 days.
Why?
Well, my hope was that it was doing a complete purge of all precancerous cells and, but again, trying to replicate the benefits we see in animals in caloric restriction. The problem is after 3 years of doing this, I lost 20 pounds of muscle, which is not a lot on a guy like me who doesn't have much to begin with. And I was just like, okay, you know what? I wish I had a biomarker that could prove to me that there was some huge benefit here. But absent this, I just don't think there is. So I don't know. Maybe there's a benefit to it. I just don't know.
I also don't eat late at night. That way I sleep better.
And I think that makes sense. Because the empirical data is clear.
Everybody knows that one. Like, come on.
No. You guys eat like Europeans. You eat
Don't
at 10
just
o'clock.
say another obvious. I breathe oxygen.
No.
Like, you just say an obvious thing. Of course, you're not supposed to eat late at night.
That's
We
the
know
benefit.
this.
What time do you have dinner?
I have dinner at 9:30 or 10:30 at night. But I sleep like shit. Okay? But I'm not here bitching about it every single
My
day.
girl's from
breathe
Spain. I
oxygen.
don't have a choice. They eat at fucking 11 p.m.
You have that window. You stop eating at 6.
Tell us about your little vagus nerve system, whatever you got. Go.
All right, this is my new dumb thing I'm on. So I just saw an ad on Instagram and I was like, this is it. And it stimulates the vagus nerve and lowers your sympathetic nervous system and helps me sleep.
Does it?
I've only done it for 3 days and my whoop was off for one of them. So
Do you feel any different?
no,
What is it? Where do you put it?
around your neck.
So you sleep with this thing around
No,
your
no,
neck?
you just do it for 1 hour before you go to sleep. And it is
What are you doing during that 1 hour?
typically reading.
Can you be doing anything?
I
Could
think
you
it's,
be watching TV? Could you be
I
doing
think it's
work?
suggested that you're ideally going down, which then now we're getting into causal and corollary stuff.
And then, you also get into, that's exactly right. So let me get this straight. If I
let's
put
get
these,
this straight.
I don't like when you say that. I really don't like when you say that. Because it's really
This is
scaring
turning
me.
out to be my favorite episode. This shit on Mark Miles, you're missing everything.
if I put these electrodes on my neck and
Yep.
lay in bed peacefully
Less
for an
condescending.
hour before going to bed, will it make me sleep better?
Yeah.
It could.
And what would happen if you just didn't have them on your neck and you lay in bed peacefully for an hour reading your Hitler books or whatever you like?
What do you mean?
I don't know. You're into those things. What do you think would happen? Do you think you would sleep better?
Well, I do that anyway.
This is like when somebody who eats junk food all the time becomes vegan and they just start eating lettuce and they're like, veganism is the key. That's the same thing, right? Okay.
But I read every night anyway. And now I'm trying this and seeing if it gets my HRV up.
You know what? It
128,
might.
by the way.
120?
128.
128?
Just saying.
Celsius, though. It's not even real. It's like,
Is that in what's called RMSS squared? Or is
Okay,
that
I don't know.
Tuck that
what
shit
is it
out.
supposed to be? What is it supposed to be?
I mean, that's absurdly high for an adult.
That's how I felt. I was like, there's no way this is true, but this is.
And is high good?
All things equal.
Hold on, let me find it for you. Hold on. Let me,
I feel like Attia is getting a little competitive right now. What's yours, Attia?
Oh, mine's super low. I have very low HRV. I'm in the 30s.
What?
Yeah.
Mark, there's no way you got 128.
It could be. I mean, I have seen
Wait,
people.
what's the average range?
Oh, it's pretty genetic, believe it or not. But the average, and it declines by age. So for people our age,
that was on Saturday. I don't know what any of this means.
He just hooked his whoop up to his baby.
Look, there's, you know what? Your 6-month average is 88 milliseconds. I don't know what Whoop's algorithm is, but I'm assuming they do it with. There's 2 ways you can calculate HRV, and they differ by about a factor of 3. So assuming these guys do it the way most consumer products do it, you would be at the upper end of what an adult would be at. But again, so that's great news. We don't know if that means anything. What it tells us. No.
You suck, Mark. No, you suck.
I'm getting you guys all nerve simulators.
But the point is, but a relative change is what you should be paying attention to. So if your average is, whatever, for the month, your average is 92. Then you want to know, like, is this thing dramatically taking you up from that? I don't know how you got a 124, but man,
I don't know.
That's impressive.
I just had a baby and I slept on the road in a hotel.
But what does that mean, though, when you have a
this.
high HRV? Like,
well, all things equal, it says your parasympathetic tone is higher, your sympathetic tone is lower. That's a good thing.
For you, like, how does it affect the body? Because when I was growing up, HIV was a horrible thing.
No, it's not that. It's HRV. HRV.
Reminds me of Ali G. The one about Homo sapiens.
That clip,
one of the greatest
and there's 4 like British scientists around him that kept taking him serious. He goes, "No, whatever you do in your life is fine, bro." Yeah,
I'm not a homo sapien.
Your wife's a homo?
Yucca shit.
Okay, but what is HRV? What are the benefits of HRV?
HRV means how much variability is there in between your heartbeats. And what it measures is if the sympathetic system, the fight or flight system, is like the gas pedal, and the parasympathetic, the rest or digest system, is like the brake pedal. HRV basically tells us what is the balance of throttle to brake.
Okay.
And so when you are sleeping, you want to be in a rested state. You actually want your HRV to be as high as possible. So why one person has an HRV of 100 and one person has an HRV of 30 and one person has an HRV of 50, whatever, that seems to be just a genetic issue. But for a given individual, there are things that are going to lower your HRV. And those are things that we ought to avoid. So I'm sure all of you have learned this if you have a wearable. Drink alcohol before bed. There is no surer way to tank your HRV. Eat food before bed, HRV goes down. Sleep in a hot room, HRV goes down. All of these things are going to kind of overtrain. So something as good as too much exercise, HRV goes down.
Do you use a wearable?
I don't, but I sleep on a mattress called an 8 Sleep.
Yeah, 8 Sleep is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's genius.
And by the way, I'm an advisor to them, so now I should just disclose all that. So
For all of it, disclose.
Yeah.
But what I thought was so
I
brilliant...
have a mattress cover.
Okay,
Yeah.
the cover's brilliant. Nobody wants to leave their mattress initially. It's a really daunting task to change mattress. You're sleeping pretty good.
But I think 99% of people who use 8 Sleep use the mattress cover.
But I think that was the great innovation, because I've heard other mattress companies.
Yeah.
There was a buddy of mine who was an engineer. He was working on a cooling mattress. And I was like, bro, now you got to convince people to buy this like science mattress. No, if you get something that goes over it, yes, they'll do it. They'll try it once or twice. If they don't like it, maybe they send it back. I just thought it was a really smart innovation.
It is hands down the thing I have become most dependent on, that most differentiates the quality of my sleep at home versus being at a hotel.
Really?
I mean, I am obsessed with this thing, and my sleep at home it's Phelpsian. So I run it to work like my body is supposed to work. So You're supposed to get into bed, I don't know, I have mine at like -5 when I get into bed, and then rapidly get cooler. And then before I wake up in the morning, warm me up a little bit.
Genius.
And that kind of mimics sort of what you want to be able to do.
Does it affect you and your wife?
You can separate them, so she doesn't like it as cold as mine.
Sometimes you got to fuck with her, though. You know what I mean? Freeze it up. Oh, your HRV's a little low. Oh, maybe you should be nicer when I come off the beach.
Okay, can I ask about your supplement stack?
Sure.
He gets this question a million times.
Okay, can I ask about my supplement stack?
That's what you really want.
That's really what I was wondering.
That's really it.
Daily creatine.
I think it's a go.
Why is creatine good?
I mean, I think it's pretty good if you're training. You know how it works. I'm assuming you kind of understand the gist.
Holds water.
That's a net effect of it, but that's not the desirable effect of it. It, everything in energy metabolism is about transferring phosphates. So you've heard of ATP?
Yep.
Yeah, so ATP is the energy currency. So creatine phosphate is the fastest form of phosphate
So
delivery.
it gets it. Okay, got it. So it aids
So
recovery.
more creatine means more creatine phosphate. So aids in performance, basically. There's also some benefit, some evidence that it improves cognition, although that seems more pronounced in people who are deficient in creatine, which might be more likely in vegetarians than non-vegetarians. So maybe if you're a vegetarian, in addition to supplementing a whole bunch of things like B vitamins, that you might want to even more consider creatine. But for the most part, I think creatine's a good thing to be supplemented.
I have a friend of mine who religiously uses creatine now, and by religiously I mean 2 weeks he's on it. And my friend Jason, and his body, he looks like a penguin. Is that a side effect? Does it do that to you or no? There's no real data that would show that. Okay, so creatine, you're good, Mark.
Magnesium before you sleep.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. Like vitamins A, B, C, D, any of those?
Some of them. I think D is good to get. D, you should think about what's the level you're trying to get to. So it's, I think if getting your vitamin D to between 40 and 60 for most people requires supplementation.
But most people are like deficient in vitamin D.
Yes.
So supplementing is solid.
Yeah, but just, you always have to measure the level to make sure you're not doing too much or not doing too little.
Okay.
Fish oil or cod liver oil?
I think so for most people, but you got to get a good source of it because it's there's so many contaminations out there. So like Carlson's is a good brand, Nordic Naturals is a good brand. I have no affiliation with these companies, but they're clean. So meaning third-party testing comes in and makes sure they don't have heavy metals in them and stuff like that.
Got it. And then what is your coffee protocol? Or caffeine, rather.
Yeah, I love coffee. Unfortunately, I'm a super fast metabolizer of caffeine, so I don't really get a jolt from it, but I just love the ritual and the taste and the flavor. And I recently switched over to this machine that is all glass and metal. So it makes a really nice drip coffee, but without any of the plastic. Because I have been trying to get rid of obvious sources of microplastics. Not that I'm like fanatical about this, but
Continue.
yeah. So hot water and plastic is something I'm trying to avoid, right? So it occurred to me after making this podcast on the topic, I was like, man, every morning I put coffee in that thing and it drips scalding hot water through 27 layers of plastic into my glass carafe. I was like, there's got to be a way to do this. So now that I discovered this thing, which I can't remember what it's called, but it's an all glass version. A listener sent it to me because I was lamenting on the podcast that I couldn't find something. And they're like, check
Or
that.
like cutting boards that are not made out of wood. Like they'll have like, I guess, plastic cutting boards. And you'll get tons of microplastics from that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I like the wooden ones, frankly.
Even braking, if you're in an urban area, every time a car uses their brakes, right? It's like sending like millions of microplastics into the air.
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point there's kind of like the 80-20 rule on this stuff. With relatively low effort, I think you can eliminate 80% of your exposure, and then you could drive yourself crazy and not get the other 20% out.
And just leave that out.
Yeah, just ignore that stuff.
Okay. Do you have any more?
Not for supplements, no.
Okay. We all have tons more
Oh,
questions.
nicotine was the other one.
Oh, yes. Well, let me ask one question before, just because we're on microplastics. Because the second that I told the whole world that my sperm doesn't swim, I got a lot of very concerned
bet.
people, including you. It was really great. Like, so I think one of your guys that works for you hit up and was like, hey, Dr. T would love to hit you up and talk to you about your sperm. And I was like, that sounds like really awesome if it was a year ago when I couldn't breathe. But no, this is great. And then you sent me this like awesome podcast, which is out now with Dr. What was his name?
Paul Trek.
Paul Trek. Okay. I got a lot of like online diagnoses about certain things. People are like, yo, watch out for the microplastics. I'm starting to read all these articles about like what's happening in male fertility. And they say like sperm quality has decreased 50% in the last 50 years. Like, can you kind of, can you talk about that a little bit? Just like, is sperm quality decreasing in America? Are we just testing it better? You know, what is happening with microplastic? Does that affect it? What do you think affected mine?
So I think that there are so many things going on, and it's impossible to say which one or two or three are driving it. It's kind of like the U.S. healthcare system. When someone says, why does the U.S. spend more than twice what any other country spends? I'm like, how much time do you have? Because I'm going to have to explain the entire system. I won't do that here on the sperm issue, but it's a lot of things, right? So as males are getting older at the time of wanting to reproduce, age is driving down quality.
But at what age? I was told that doesn't happen until we're like 60.
No, I mean, at 50, you fall off a cliff from the standpoint of the quality of the sperm.
Got it.
But remember, as you're getting older, testosterone's going down as well. Then you factor in if testosterone's going down and more men are using testosterone replacement therapy, that's also reducing fertility if you're using actual exogenous testosterone. The relationship between obesity and metabolic disease is also pretty significant, and men on average today are much fatter and less healthier. That doesn't explain you, but clearly there's something going on at the population level there. That also probably has the greatest impact on declining testosterone levels, is just inflammation, obesity, more aromatization, meaning turning testosterone into estrogen. It's funny. I don't know enough about STDs, so I don't know if they're going up. But STDs play a pretty big role in infertility as well.
Really?
So, yeah, if you get like an infection of the epididymis, which is the collecting system on the back of the testes, and you get recurrent epididymitis. And again, you can get those from UTIs or other things, but STDs are the most common cause of that. So again, I don't really know what's going on with chlamydia and gonorrhea these days. I don't sort of see that stuff in my practice, but my guess is that could be playing a role. So I think it's probably a death by 1,000 cuts. I don't think there's a smoking gun. Do microplastics play a role? Yeah, it's possible.
What would they do? I read some reports saying they found microplastics in sperm samples.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know that by itself is a smoking gun here. You can find microplastics in many things, and I don't know if it's causally driving the problem that you're seeing. That said, all things equal, I'd probably prefer not to see microplastics in sperm than to see them, especially as we talk about in that podcast. I mean, the process is so... it's so hard to believe it actually happens.
Can you break down the process of impregnating a woman?
Yeah, I mean, I think Paul does a much better job, but the gist of it is that, when a guy ejaculates, 100,000 sperm come shooting.
100 million.
100 million sperm, thank you, go shooting into the vagina. And you said it best, right? It's like wave after wave of soldier just getting destroyed. And finally, as the acidity of that environment and the harshness of that environment, a few of them manage to get through. And then they're in the uterus, and then they've got this whole other challenge because they have to eventually make their way up the fallopian tube. But the punchline is like only about 100 of the 100 million make their way to the egg.
How insane is that?
Yeah.
So 100 million start, 100 end up going there. I think it was like 100 million by the time, because the pH in the vagina is like quite acidic.
Yes, very low.
So I think it narrows it down to 5 million. And then going through the fallopian tubes, you're down to 100 sperm. That's your chance every time you do it. And they have to swim, and we were talking about this before the podcast, a sperm in order to get from the vagina to the egg has to swim the equivalent size-wise of us swimming 20 miles.
Catalina.
Yeah, so you think of the energy requirement of that little flagellar tail on the back of a sperm.
Oh, that was cool too. Yeah. About how like each one has a limited amount of fuel, essentially.
Yep.
So each sperm has the fuel, and it's used to get to the egg, and after that, there's no reserve.
Yeah.
One way. That's it. So it's a rocket.
Yeah.
That's wild. Now, is it the first sperm to reach the egg, or does the egg have any selection process?
So interesting. So once you now get down to that group that are getting to the sperm, up to the egg, it's the first one that gets embedded that actually triggers this incredible electrical system, like a force field forms around the egg, and no other sperm can get in. And the reason that's so important is you would create what's called aneuploidy, where you have multiple copies of chromosomes if you do this, and that would be catastrophic. So that, to me, is my favorite part of that, is there's this whole calcium channel that like flips a switch.
The second it embeds.
The second, like the millisecond that first sperm makes contact, it's just a whoosh. and then away it goes.
But how crazy is it that like your fastest, quote unquote, I don't know if they're the best, but the first few lines, we're talking about 95 million. Your 95 million best sperm get axed the second they touch the shore.
Wow.
Right? So the last 5 million who are just like chilling, hanging out, like watching to see what went on are the only ones that end up getting there. So is there an argument that if you were to select sperm, like in vitro or something like that, that those might be potentially part of the first wave?
Such a great question. But of course, right? So I guess the question is, are the first ones that get out stochastically determined to be the first ones out, or is there a selection benefit to being the first one out? If there's a selection benefit to being the first one out, then it means IVF is probably altering that mix, because IVF would be just picking randomly. If there's no survival reason why those first ones are out and the 5 million are at the back, then it probably wouldn't matter.
Okay, that's what you would hope.
Yeah.
Because they do like sperm cleaning is what they call, where they essentially look for like the healthiest versions, and they'll take them and plant them. But God forbid if they weren't like supposed to be there. Ooh. But then again, if they are the strongest, that's a lot of pressure on my kid. Like, you were the best of the best. You better get A's. You know what I mean? Like, wow. Okay.
I'm curious, do you have any, I've heard people say like, oh, don't put your phone in your pocket for sperm health, any of that stuff. Like heat from your phone or like from a laptop, and then additionally like any EMF stuff that you've ever read research on.
Yeah, I have looked at a lot of this research. I don't find any of the EMF data compelling, which is going to generate a lot of hate comments in the YouTube, guys. I'm sorry, because boy, everybody wants to believe EMF is the cause of all evil.
What is EMF?
The stuff, the waves out of your earbuds and your
5G?
phones and stuff like that.
The electromagnetic frequency that comes off your phones and stuff like that. Sleeping next to your phone, people say is bad.
Heat is a real issue. So it turns out that hot tub. What did Paul say in this podcast? He said he could render any guy completely infertile
by just going in a hot tub,
by doing 4 hot tub sessions a week.
And then he said his
to which I was like, this needs to be a form of birth control.
Wow. Some people say.
Yeah.
I mean, your buddy said that he would go. I think, or was it you? There was one of your buddies were trying to get pregnant, and they would go in the sauna with.
He would bring an ice pack on his nuts in the sauna,
and he would just keep the ice pack on his nuts. Wow. But I imagine that like the fact that the testicles can like elevate and descend is specifically so that they can maintain a temperature that's beneficial to them, right?
Well, yeah, that's mostly for cold protection, not heat protection. So that's why he was saying cold plunge is not. He doesn't concern himself with cold plunge and fertility because they can
ascend and they can get the warmth.
They
from the
can
body.
keep themselves warm. It's that they can't dissipate heat.
Oh, that makes sense.
So that's why they have nowhere to go in the hot tub.
Is there any long-term effect, or is it just temporary?
Sounds like from him, it's just transient.
What about desert people? Like people where the temperature does get to 100 degrees, 105 degrees.
Yeah, again, air doesn't conduct temperature nearly as well as water. So the thermal coefficient of water is so high.
That makes sense.
That's why when you're in 105 degree water, it's actually uncomfortable. When you're in 105 degree air, you can stand it for a long time.
What about the red light therapy on your junk?
Oh, yeah. I saw people talking about this a couple of years ago. This was all the rave, right? For increasing testosterone.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. My guess is like all that stuff is kind of like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Like maybe it helps a little bit. I'm not sure if it really helps a ton.
All right, guys, you see the blue light, so I got to talk to the noodle dicks out there like myself, maybe. Who knows? I don't know, because I've been taking Blue Chew. I've been chewing it up, and that shit is performance enhancing in the most important realm of performance. Guys, if you have a lady you need to impress, maybe it's your wife, maybe it's a girl that you're just going on a couple of dates with and you're trying to get her to stay, then you need to pop yourself a Blue Chew and perform at your peak, guys. You see that blue light? That blue light don't fuck around. They've been sponsoring us since like year 1 of Flagrant. We're in year 7 and we are still rocking with them, get it? Because they're the chew. They're the ones we trust. It's got the same active ingredients as all those other shits that get your dick hard, but it's the chew. It's the one we trust. It's the one that we use. And as always, we have a great deal for our listeners. You can get your first month for free. All you gotta do is pay $5 for shipping, but the first month is free if you go to bluechew.com and use the promo code FLAGRANT. Again, free at checkout, you just pay $5 for shipping. Go to bluechew.com, check out the details, check out the safety info, make sure this is right for you, and use the promo code FLAGRANT. First month for free. Now let's get back to the show.
What's the biggest bullshit biohack? Like, what's the thing that you roll your eyes at every time you see people promoting it?
Boy, there's so many.
All right, give us 10.
So I think a lot of the sort of stem cell stuff is pretty freaking dangerous. I think that there are probably instances in which stem cells could be really helpful. I think if you tore a muscle, if you tore your rotator cuff or something, I would love to see a study where we looked at non-operative management, so just sort of PT rehab versus PT rehab plus stem cell injection. Would there be a difference? The answer is maybe, right? But when you look at sort of the grotesque misuse of this stuff in areas where it's just clearly not going to play a role, for example, the intravenous administration of this stuff or the intrathecal administration of this stuff. I mean,
what's intrathecal?
Intrathecal, like into the spinal cord and stuff like that. I mean, there's just no plausible mechanism by which you're going to inject stem cells into somebody's bloodstream that they're not going to get, completely torn up by the cells in the lung. And at the best case scenario is it does nothing, but the worst case scenario is, you've wasted a ton of money and you've potentially, subjected yourself to some infection or something like that. And we don't hear enough of those stories. I do hear some of those stories of the people who get horrible infections when they go down to, Costa Rica or Colombia to get their stem cell treatments, which says nothing of how much money is being spent on this sort of thing. So my guess is there's some signal there, but it's like most of what you're seeing is not.
This is a huge industry.
Yeah, it's actually kind of remarkable that it exists. But I mean, I shouldn't say that. Anytime you can do something to convince people without data that something works, it's a win-win, right?
Yeah, I'm just so shocked that it's become so normalized. I haven't heard really any pushback about it outside of you. Now, I haven't done much research, and again, I'm like completely ignorant to all this stuff. But wow, so the stem cells, you see marginal benefit potentially, and no real data to back it?
Definitely no data. So people that talk about data are talking about anecdotal data. Like, my cousin Joey, I mean, he went and had stem cells and he's 100% better. It's like, okay, well, I mean, again, maybe Joey would have got better anyway because, so you cannot study these things without blinding. And without randomization, you simply can't.
And who's signing up for the blind stem cell study?
Right.
If you got enough money to get your shoulder fixed and you're willing to go to fucking Colombia to do it, then you want the real stuff.
Yeah.
Are there other?
Yeah, I think a lot of the peptide stuff is total nonsense.
BPC 157.
Yeah, so let's take that one. It's the most popular.
What is it?
So BPC 157 is an analog of something called vascular endothelial growth factor, VEGF. So what is VEGF? So VEGF is a molecule in the body that promotes something called angiogenesis, which is the creation of new blood vessels. So angiogenesis is really important in certain processes. In fact, it's important for cancer, right? So cancer has to utilize VEGF to
grow and
spread and grow.
Yeah.
So many years ago, a drug called Avastin was introduced that was an anti-VEGF drug.
To limit the growth of cancer.
Target this thing, right? Okay. So, but there are clearly times when you would want lots of angiogenesis, when you want proliferation of blood vessels. And so the thinking is that if we give people BPC 157 and they have an injury, maybe it improves healing. And I think it's possible, but there were a couple of challenges with this, right? So you can take BPC 157 orally, but the bioavailability is only 10 to 20% because the acid in the stomach tends to rip peptides apart. So it's not clear that you can take enough of this stuff by mouth to actually meaningfully get it into your body. Furthermore, how much would you need to take? Like, let's say your patella tendon is the thing that's flared up and you really just want to get, more blood flow there. Should you just be injecting BPC 157 there? The half-life of it is like 1 to 2 hours. So then the question becomes like, how often do you have to use this stuff? I mean, you need to be injecting it 3 times a day. And again, without any data, we just don't know. So I think there's biological plausibility to it, but if that weren't enough, the FDA has cracked down on these things and said, like, come on, guys, we need to see some data if we're going to let you use these things. So now pharmacies can't make this stuff anymore. So now when people buy peptides, they have to do it in a very shady way, which is they have to buy it from a manufacturer who claims that they're only selling it for research purposes and that you're only buying it for research purposes. And then until they get shut down, and then it's like a kind of a game of whack-a-mole, but there's no quality control. And truthfully, like, I would really like to see this studied so that we could know. Like, I'd like to see what's called an IND, which is, means like the FDA stamps this with an investigational new drug status and let it get studied, and let's decide once and for all, like, does this work? Because I'm sure there's going to be a time in my life when I'm going to want every trick up the sleeve that could be used to address these things. There are some peptides that actually, I will say, completely do work. They're biologically identical to certain hormones in the body. So Samorelin, for example, is basically a growth hormone analog. It works perfectly well. But then you have to ask the question, what are the pros and cons of taking growth hormone?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is I know many people that when they hit 35, 40, their testosterone goes down and doing, TRT and growth hormone stuff to get it back to that baseline level.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Totally different things. I would say when it comes to TRT, I think the data are really good at the benefits of TRT in a low T state. Obviously, you have to be aware of certain situations, like, if you want to have kids, TRT, you have to be, I wouldn't recommend TRT to somebody who still wants to maintain fertility. I would recommend HCG, which is another way to increase testosterone production without giving testosterone and shutting down endogenous production, the body's production. Growth hormones is a more complicated one, and I still I'm of two minds on this, which is on the one hand, there's really no data one way or the other saying it's good or bad, right? Actually, that's not true. There are data saying it's good in certain cases, like HIV wasting, right? So people like back in the 80s when we didn't have highly active antiretroviral therapy for patients with AIDS, you had nothing to offer these people but like high doses of steroids and growth hormone. And by the way, dramatically improve their quality of life. So we know that at least in the case of AIDS wasting, growth hormone was amazing. I've never met a person who took growth hormone who didn't say they felt better. So the question is, at what cost? I've never taken it, but I tell you, I'm sure at some point I'm probably going to be like, you know what?
Let's try it.
I don't care about the risks anymore. I'm old enough.
Yeah.
I feel crappy enough. It's time to start taking it. But I'm only 52. I'm gonna hold out a little bit longer before experimenting.
Right.
What about like NAD or all these like cosmetic IV drips?
Yeah. NAD is another one where there's a great argument for why you would take it, because NAD levels decline as we age, and NAD is very important. So that if you took those two, if I told you there's this really important thing in your body and it gets lower with age, the obvious answer is I should be taking more of it. Okay, totally get that. So then the question becomes, how do you take it? So there's basically two ways you can take NAD. You can take it in an intravenous infusion. I think that's a total waste of time because, one, they're giving you probably way more than you need. And how often can you do that? Like, even if you were the most committed junkie, like, would you do that once a week? Right. That's not going to create the half-life of NAD is quite short. That's not going to meaningfully contribute to your total body levels of NAD. So people then try these. And the other way you can take NAD is through formulations that you take under the tongue so that they get absorbed in your lymphatic system. That might be more promising. I'm kind of interested to see how that pans out. And then there are people that take these NAD precursors. One of them is called NR, and one of them is called NMN, which you've probably heard of. And, frankly, there's no evidence that those get turned into NAD in meaningful enough quantities. They do a little bit, but they don't seem to get turned into it enough to really matter. And also, all of the clinical trials, and I say clinical trials kind of in quotes because they're usually industry-funded trials, but all of these experiments, they don't tend to show very interesting outcomes except in very esoteric cases. So there was probably the best study that people point to. The two best studies that people point to, one is in people with Lou Gehrig's disease. I think they were given NR, and the people that were given NR had a slightly longer time till they needed to go on a ventilator. And I mean, that I don't know how clinically relevant it was, but to somehow suggest from that outcome that like we should all be taking NR is a huge stretch.
Guys, let's take a break to tell you about the David Protein Bar. It's a protein bar with a simple concept. It is the most protein with the least calories. That's all you're doing. 28 grams of protein, 150 calories. Find me another protein bar with those kind of macros. You cannot. It's a very simple concept. 0 grams of sugar, 150 calories, 28 grams of protein. That is the best, healthiest macros you will ever see on a protein bar. And adequate protein, as everybody knows, is critical for building and preserving muscles now and as we age. It also plays a vital role in managing metabolic health and preventing excess fat body accumulation. I don't need enough protein, you can tell by looking. But I fucks with these David bars. They have the most protein for calories. So 100 calories of a David bar will help you feel fuller than 100 calories of any other bar. It's very simple. And David bars are now available in New York City at your local bodega. So if you're in New York, they got them at the Morton Williams near where I live too. So it's not even just bodegas, local stores. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on the other websites. You can go to davidbar.com or you go to davidprotein.com/flagrant. If you want to try all their 6 delicious flavors, because they're all worth trying. And if you go to that website, they have a special deal. You buy 4 cartons, you get a 5th for free. So if you're curious, again, go to davidprotein.com/flagrant or stop by your local grocery store, bodega in New York City, and just try it. It's a fantastic protein bar, tons of protein, not that many calories. You'll love it. Now let's get back to the show. Listen up, America. It's time to prove you're a citizen. It's time to prove you're an American. We're shipping motherfuckers back for no reason. You know what you can do to stay, though? This right there, Black Rifle, prove you're an American. It's not just delicious coffee. It's not just delicious energy drinks. Now they're changing the game. They got coffee pods. You know them stupid fucking Italian Nespressos that you drink where you have your pinky up? Fuck that. This is America. Get yourself some Black Rifle coffee capsules. They are Nespresso compatible pods, but they're more heterosexual because they're American. Isn't that important to you? I think it's important. You want to be as heterosexual as you can while you drink an espresso classy. So, Black Rifle coffee capsules. They got Loyal Spirit roasts. That's just, I got Loyal Spirit, Just Black, and Espresso Mule. Good old-fashioned American names designed by people who served this country. Do you enjoy your freedom? Why don't you sip on it with a little Black Rifle coffee capsule? Every pod you pop supports veterans and first responders who are the real American heroes. So get your caffeine-loving ass over to blackriflecoffee.com/flagrant right now and use the promo code FLAGRANT for 30% off your first order. Again, that's blackriflecoffee.com/flagrant. Promo code FLAGRANT. You can also find their pods, energy drinks, and gear wherever badassery is sold. I wish that wasn't mandatory, but it's highlighted yellow, so that means I have to say it like that. But really all that means is grocery stores and gas stations. See y'all later.
When you said you were pre-diabetic, how did you fix that? Because like I was also pre-diabetic like 2 years ago, and I just had to like cut out a lot of sugar and
I mean, mostly at that point it was changing my diet, and losing a ton of weight. I mean, frankly, weight loss fixes most problems.
RFK has started taking out red dye. He started his crusade against like these dyes and stuff in food. Is that a pressing problem? You think in the American diet, these like red dyes and things like that? Have you looked into that research?
I've looked into it a little bit, and I can't imagine anything wrong with getting rid of red dyes. In other words, I don't think anything bad happens because we take out the red dyes. I would be... Remember the expression in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles when he's like, "Are you surprised?" And he's like, "If I woke up in the morning with my head sewn into the rug, I'd be less surprised." I think if like red dye, if the removal of red dyes fixed our health system, that's how surprised I'd be.
Yeah.
I don't think
death by 1,000 cuts, but it might be one of the cuts.
Maybe.
Okay, just doing research on you. I love the fact that you're speaking a lot about like the emotional component of longevity and how important that is. And just because I think there are ways to kind of biohack at the cost of enjoying your life, spending time with friends, and like figuring out what the right meters that you should pull on are. Like specifically having community, I think is like crucial. And the isolationism that a lot of people are dealing with in America and probably around the world is you could say like there's a version of it where it's not, I don't want to say slow death, but it will knock off years from your life, right? How do you, like, maybe this is something that you're working on early in life, but how do you communicate to a 30-year-old, hey, you want to live to 80? You better have some fucking friends that you hang out with, because that's not something you could solve for at 75.
Yeah, that's such a great point. How do you convince the 30-year-old? So look, this is going to sound like a dumb thing to say, but I feel a little detached, right? So a 30-year-old is a full generation below me, right? So I don't know what a 30-year-old, I don't necessarily have an appreciation for what a 30-year-old is struggling with today relative to what I was struggling with at 30. But I think you're right. I think the world is so different today that I'm sure that there's a greater sense of isolation. I just don't think you can overstate the whole point here, which is everything you want at the end of your life, you have to be able to work backwards from and start now. So if you want to be fit when you're 80, do you know how fit you need to be when you're 30? Like, you don't get to be an out of shape pug till you're 75
Right.
and go, it's hammer time.
Yeah.
So you have to get in shape now. Like, all the exercise I do now is not for now.
It's for 80.
It's for 80.
Yeah. I mean, this is
So
something.
the same is true on the relationship front, right?
Yeah.
So I think
You want a robust friend group at 80?
yeah, and
help them out,
and I want my kids. I don't remember who said this. Yeah, I wish I could remember who said it so I could attribute it to them. But somebody said the greatest source of wealth is having adult kids who want to come and spend time with you. Right. So if you let's unpack that for a moment. So that says, okay, do you accept that? Well, I think anybody who has kids would accept that. So, okay, my kids are 17, 11, and 8, and I want them to constantly come back and be with me till the day I die.
Yeah.
Okay. What do I have to do to make that true?
Hold a trust fund over their head.
I mean, how much do I need to spend time with them now, or can I ignore them now?
You got to spend time.
Exactly. So it's like, so for example, like, people say, oh, Peter, you exercise so much. I'm like, I don't exercise that much. Like, you should see what I used to do. Like, I phone it in when I work out, right? I mean, like, if I'm given the choice between an extra workout or a game of chess with my kid or playing soccer with my kid, I'm always going to pick doing the thing with my kid, because I know that those years are very finite. And that's the investment, right? That's like, I have to invest in these relationships today because I know what I want tomorrow. And the same is true with my wife, with my friends and stuff. So I think that's the way to position it, is all the choices you make today are compounding choices.
And work backwards from what you want.
Yep.
So, okay, to that end, reactive medicine is going to get really good. And I imagine with AI, I don't know exactly how it's going to affect it. I'm curious your take on that. But reactive medicine is going to get better. The better reactive medicine gets, I imagine the less proactive we will be with our longevity. So if I know, for example, if I get cut, I could just throw some Neosporin, or I could take an antibiotic. I'm not really worried about getting cut. But back in the day, if you got cut, you fucking died. You worried about getting cut.
Yeah.
Are you at all, knowing how important it is to plan for your last decade and knowing how prolific the drugs are going to get that help you think at least that you don't have to plan, are you worried that that's going to deteriorate that planning that is so vital, at least in people's minds?
I mean, perhaps for some, I think, there are some areas where I think I'm hopeful that drugs are going to get a lot better. But it's going to be a while before I think we could safely say that prevention is still not the best management strategy for cancer, for heart disease, and for dementia. And I think that especially for cancer and dementia, we really don't have amazing treatment options. Advanced cancer is advanced meaning cancer that has spread from its primary site, metastatic cancer. It's almost uniformly fatal still. We have about an increase, overall survival has increased about 10% in 50 years. So I still think the approach of early detection and taking all the preventive measures is going to matter for a long time. Furthermore, lifespan is not the only metric, right? Health span also matters.
Can you explain the difference between those two? I think people get confused with that.
Yeah, lifespan is the easy one. It's the how long you live. And so that's the one that the medical system is fixated on, is how many years are you going to be alive? And we're pretty good at stretching out time that we are alive with chronic disease. But health span is what more people care about.
Yeah.
More people care about the quality of their life. And actually, most people, almost without exception, would take a slightly shorter life at a higher quality all day.
Exactly. Give me productivity through everyone wants to live to 100, et cetera. Of course, in our heads, we're all like, I'm going to get to 100. Give me productive 80 years. Like I'm playing paddle every day until I'm 80 instead of being wheelchair bound from 70 to 100.
Yep.
I think most people take that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's
And
right.
in order to do that, you have to take preventative measures.
Yeah, and you have to do hard things. You have to exercise.
Yeah.
Like you gotta watch what you eat. You gotta tend to your sleep. You gotta do these things for which we don't have great pills that are substitutes.
Can you explain the dementia, the correlation between, I don't know what it is like diet or health or what you can do? My dad has dementia.
Yeah.
It's like, what preventative measures can you take for that?
Well, again, dementia is really complicated because there are so many different types of it. There's Alzheimer's disease specifically, but then there's vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia.
My dad has non-amyloid plaque Alzheimer's. So usually Alzheimer's is defined by the amyloid plaque buildup.
Yeah.
They haven't found enough in it, but they're still like, you're showing all the symptoms of this. So they don't even know what the fuck to do about it. So I'm curious, like what?
So genetics play a pretty big role in this. I'm sure they've done the appropriate genetic testing to see how much of this was kind of genetically driven. And then there are a whole bunch of factors that can increase risk. Don't answer for whether any of these participated in your dad's, but like everything from high blood pressure, high cholesterol, insulin resistance, poor sleep, high stress. Those are just the ones we know about. Inflammation, certain types of infections, right? Where there's now a lot of evidence that's emerged in the last 6 months that suggests that reactivation of shingles, especially an ocular version of shingles where the virus gets near the eye, that could even increase the risk. So now we've always been pretty adamant about people getting their shingles vaccine once they hit 50, but that's yet another reason I think that everybody once they hit 50. In fact, I got my shingles vaccines when I was in my 40s. I was like, fuck it, I'm not waiting until I'm 50. Yeah. Well, just from the standpoint of shingles being such a miserable, awful experience.
But you said blood pressure and insulin resistance. My dad does have high blood pressure and he has become insulin resistant. So you're saying that like obviously there are genetic factors,
Yep.
but like could diet have also sped up that process potentially with him?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. It's horrifying to figure out that there's something that could have been done to stop that.
Yeah. I mean,
Growing up, I always thought it was just like you either got it or you don't. It's genetics.
Yeah. And again, there's a genetic component to all of these diseases, but you really can, if you start early enough, you can circumvent a lot of the genetics. Certainly not every case. Look, there are cases of Alzheimer's disease that are predetermined. But fortunately, the predetermined cases represent less than 1% of cases. So there are a handful of genes that guarantee a person will get Alzheimer's disease, and tragically, these people succumb to the disease in their 50s usually.
Okay.
But again, that's 1% of cases. So 99% of cases
Or environmental.
There's a genetic component, but they seem to be triggered by insulin resistance, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, poor sleep.
This is the stuff that I think is so motivational, right? Like once you learn about that, I mean, did you guys learn that Alzheimer's was something that you could potentially...
We didn't learn this in med school. Why would these guys have learned about it?
It's kind of crazy.
No offense, but
No, I went to nursing school, but yeah, I'd never heard that before.
But I would have loved to know about this.
Yeah.
My dad's starting every morning with a corn muffin from the deli. Like that can't be good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
No, medicine has a huge blind spot to this topic.
Why is that?
I think it just has to do with the structure of reimbursement and payment built around diagnostic codes. And intervention. So medicine has basically two types of interventions, drugs and procedures. And so we have codes for both drugs and procedures and diagnoses.
We don't have code for prevention.
Yeah, we don't really have a billing system that makes sense to say, John came in today to see me and I noticed that he's a little pre-diabetic. But rather than just write him a prescription for metformin, I spent half an hour with him and I figured out that he's not sleeping that well. So I walked him through some of the CBTI techniques for improving his sleep. Like there's no way, like, how would you pay somebody for that? It's sort of
The
like
reward system isn't built for it.
Yeah.
There's no money in it.
So then it trickles down. So then it's not going to be part of the education system. So, I mean, if you like, people often ask me like, well, why should I listen to anything you say? Like, you trained as a surgeon. Like, how does your surgical training have anything to do with what you do today? And I was like, yeah, you're right, nothing. Like nothing. But here's the point. Had I gone and done internal medicine or family medicine or rheumatology, the answer would still be nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, all these things I've learned over the past 15 years were not going to be things you were going to learn in a standard medical system. And by the way, I'm not saying that standard system isn't wonderful. It is. Like, we owe a lot to that medicine 2.0, as I call it, system. But it's really at the limits of what it's going to solve.
So we need to make some fundamental changes.
Yeah, we just have to have two systems that run in parallel. You have to have your medicine 2.0 system for when you have pneumonia, when you have a heart attack, when you get cancer, when all of these things happen that are horrible. You need the system that we have right now to fix it.
Yeah.
But we have to be spreading some resources over to a system that says, hey, when you're 20 years old, why don't I start doing all this stuff in you so that when you're 75, you look more like a 55-year-old internally.
There's definitely, like, it seems that there's a thirst for it. I mean, obviously you spearheading it and then, Rogan taking such an interest in it. Like, I don't know if this is directly from you guys. I assume it is, but like, I've heard that even young people are drinking like 10-15% less than they had before.
I've seen stats about that. Yeah.
And I mean, smoking has gone way down, like, which are nice things. And maybe you want humans to have some agency over their own body. Like, maybe it's not only up to the medical industrial complex to tell us what to do. Like, maybe it is good that we do some research and we start going, yeah, well, maybe if I eat right and exercise, that this will be better for me. But at least having access to the information is important. That's crazy that 99% of dementia could have environmental effects that have sped up the process.
Yeah. And just to be clear, there's a spectrum within there, right? There are some people that are going to have 2 copies of an ApoE4 gene.
They're going to have it.
Well, they won't necessarily have it, but they're going to have a 10 times higher rate of having it. But then there's still something that might trigger it.
Yeah.
But look, half the case, a third of the cases of Alzheimer's disease don't even have 1 copy of the ApoE4 gene. Now, they might still have some other gene that we don't know yet is participating in this, but we have to believe that there are significant environmental triggers.
Wow.
And I think that plays more of a role than what we see in cancer. I think in cancer, you have more of kind of the bad luck problem,
right?
Where just cells are constantly turning over DNA, and then you just eventually, you make so many mistakes, and eventually one gets out that the immune system evades, and that's why I think we still we will always see people who do everything right get cancer.
Yeah. And you said how important early detection is when it comes to cancer. How do you feel about like full body MRI scans?
I think they again, we do them with our patients, but we're pretty careful about doing it, and we don't necessarily recommend everybody do it because you open up a can of worms with that stuff. So first of all, most MRI scanners out there are garbage, so they're not even remotely good enough to be doing this. MRI in general is just kind of a crap technology.
What's that
compared
noise
to CT
about?
scan? Yeah, the magnet. The magnet makes a ton of noise. But the problem with MRI is it's not a standardized. It's hard to explain this without getting really into the physics of it, which is super cumbersome. But like a CT scan has a quantifiable unit of measurement. So when you look at a CT scan, it might look like it's black and white and different shades of gray, but every one of those pixels can be described in something called a Hounsfield unit. And you know exactly what the color of that is, and it's perfectly quantifiable, and it's reproducible no matter what machine you get it done in. So some machines might have a higher resolution, some machines might go faster, and some machines might have more or less radiation, but the image reliability, there's one language. Okay. With MRI, It ain't that way.
So an MRI from one hospital could speak a different language than an MRI from another one.
Completely.
Holy shit.
And so you are relying on our radiologist to sort of try to look through this thing. And so you might ask, well, why do we even do MRIs? Well, there are some things for which when you add contrast and you run a certain protocol, you get a much better look at certain types of tissue. But for this application for cancer screening, it's nowhere near as good as CT, but we just don't want to put people through that much radiation. So we use the MRI with no contrast. But there are most of the companies that are out there advertising to do this are kind of running lousy protocols, and they're doing it really cheap. But the problem is you're missing cancers, and more importantly, you're catching a lot of things that aren't cancer. So you're getting a lot of false positives, and that creates a ton of emotional stress for people and can lead to a lot of follow-up procedures. And so when we talk to our patients about doing this, our view is you don't do this unless you're willing to go down a rabbit hole where we saw a nodule on your thyroid. It's probably not cancer, but now we can't ignore it. So we need to do an ultrasound. We're going to have to put a needle in it, take a biopsy. And I would say 20% of our patients are like, yeah, don't sign me up for that. Forget it.
We had a friend whose mom went in. They saw what they thought, I guess, were like tumors. And they, in the moment, diagnosed her with stage 4.
Whoa.
They're like, you probably have maybe a couple of years left. Like, we're going to go in and look at them, but it looks like it's spread. I think stage 4 is when it's spread to multiple parts of the body. Take them out, do the biopsy. They're like, oh, they're all benign.
All right.
New lease on life there.
I mean, there's a part of you that goes, oh my God, I feel so lucky. And then there's another part of you like, well, what is this system where they go, you're going to die in 2 years? And they go, oopsie, we didn't know. I mean.
Yeah, it's crazy. What about AI as a diagnostic tool? Like, as that's on the horizon, how is that playing?
AI will help radiologists a lot, but it won't help MRI until this problem gets solved. So
MRI is speaking the same language, it doesn't matter.
Excuse me. Until the MRI's pixels are all standardized, AI can't do anything.
What can AI do for? What will AI do for just medicine in general? How will it affect longevity? Like, where do you see it playing a part?
God, there's so many ways. It's already playing a pretty interesting role in drug discovery. So how do we create drugs? So a lot of times drugs are designed. They're meaning you know the receptor that you want to activate or block, and you know its 3D structure. And you know what the protein is that makes it, and you say, okay, well, I have to make something that fits into here. So in the olden days, you had to do it by trial and error.
So you're just throwing different proteins at it until it sticks.
What if I put this amino acid next to, what if I string these 2,000 amino acids together? Will they fold in the right way to make a structure that fits there? Well, the company that won the Nobel Prize last year it's a company that spun out of Google. They came up with an AI engine that now can predict from the amino acid sequence how it will fold and what the shape will be.
So you don't have to do the trial and error. Because
right. You can just make the drug.
Oh my God.
So much cheaper, so much faster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to overplay it. So much faster and cheaper for that step. That's step 1 of 27.
Right.
You still have, I mean, I'm being a bit facetious, but now you still have to go and test that drug in mice. Then you have to get an IND. Then you have to do a phase 1, then a phase 2, then a phase 3. That's actually what takes the most time and costs the most money. But that's still a really big deal. And by the way, if AI simulations can speed up the second and third step, then we could start to take.
So how would you create data sets with fake mice or with AI versions of mice?
You'd have to do it off real data to start, probably. And of course, you'd have to come up with models that could understand what's happening and create perhaps some sort of synthetic data off smaller sample sizes or things like that. So maybe you run a smaller sample size, but you get enough data out of there that you can simulate what would happen on a larger data size.
I mean, that's where you get the exponential increases when you can use they're not called fake data samples. They're called synthetic data samples. Once you create synthetic data samples for something, you're out of here, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's still hard for me to kind of wrap my mind around what that's going to mean in humans. But if I just think about what I've watched AI do when I muck around with it now versus a year ago versus 2 years ago, I mean, it's just done that. So what that means, it's really hard to sort of imagine what it could do. There are also some super, super unsexy things that AI could be doing that would like lower the cost of healthcare. Like our healthcare system has such a high administrative burden, and it, you know, we're talking about $700 to $800 billion of money,
Off pure admin,
of just admin burden, which you could, I mean, AI could do all of that stuff.
Wow. That's significant.
700 to 800 million of pure admin.
Billion.
Sorry, billion of pure admin. I'm thinking about countries where they're offering it, they're just offering universal health care. Imagine what that means for them. I mean,
Well, they have much less admin costs than us.
because why? They've already
They don't have to
streamlined it?
adjudicate payments. So
And
when I
that's where
say,
the admin
yeah, the
shit is.
admin here has how do I take the payer and
insurance
the provider
company,
and adjudicate the claim and make the payment. That's where the insane friction is in our system, which is unique to us.
Is there like, you're around a very morbid topic, right? We're talking about trying to avoid death. So you can't not think about death. There's got to be a lot of like positive and happy, joyful things that are coming out of this. You have to see people change their lives, turn their lives around. Like, I feel like we fixate a lot on like what could potentially be killing us and how we're being harmed. But like, are there a lot of circumstances where you're seeing people in their 30s, they're 40, like I'm 40, Mark's in his 20s, late 20s, probably pretty much 30 or 40 already.
Well, no, late 20s.
And Al's in his 30s. So like, have you seen this start to like impact these younger generations? And is there like a part of you that's very proud to see them taking it this seriously? Are there certain people that you're working with that you're seeing like life-changing things happen to? Like, I don't want to just fixate on like what's negative about this. I think it's a cool moment in history where we have access to this information. It's terrifying because I don't know if an ice bath is good or bad. I don't know if a sauna is good or bad. Like, this is the cost of having free information out there, is that there's going to be a lot of things that mislead you. But like, well, give us some hope. I know that you're busy, you got to get out of here, but like, where do you get excited at seeing the positive benefits of this longevity research?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, for me, I mostly think of the positive stuff. I mean, sometimes I get into an existential funk about mortality. Probably everybody does if they think about it enough. And, you know, if you lose a parent, you have these moments that are really jarring where you can't understand what is life sometimes. But I don't spend a lot of time on that. I've sort of, I think much more about both my individual aspirations, you know, as a husband, as a father, with my friends and things of that nature. And that's, you know, that's just very exciting to me. And as you said, my patients are, you know, wonderful. And I love watching all the ways we reduce risk in them. And then, you know, finally, I think a lot about things I'm excited about when how to actually scale this and make this kind of something that we can deliver to everybody.
How do we do that?
We do it with software, right? We do it with software and AI, and that's kind of the next frontier for what I you know, where I think we should be going.
Are you going to put out like an informational app? You're going to put out some sort of, I don't what is it, like an encyclopedia of this information where we can?
No, I think information by itself is not sufficient. I think it has to be more action oriented. It has to be more of a co-pilot, like kind of a health fiduciary. So it's sort of like if you had me standing next to you every single day, helping you decide how to exercise, how to eat, what to do with any results you have, but on a day-to-day basis, right? Not some sort of grand once a year sort of overhaul. Over time, these benefits would compound a lot. So I think this is not.
How can the average person access that? I imagine your time is very costly.
But of course. But again, if you
have a
scale
system,
me via software, yeah.
So is that something you're working on?
Yeah.
And then when do we think, you're being a little hesitant about sharing this information, so I imagine it's in development, but when do we think we get a look at that? Because I think this is transformative.
Sooner rather than later.
Really?
Yeah, this year, hopefully.
Whoa.
Early next year.
And are you partnering with anybody on this? Philip Morris, maybe? Or
We have a Marlboro sponsor.
Yes, that'd be great. Yeah.
They're the lead sponsor. Yeah.
But this is all you guys? This is, wow. And I mean, I have so many questions about this because I think this is the trickiest thing I imagine for all of us, it's like political information. I don't know what the fuck is right or wrong. Everything's filtered in through people's biases. And then we get into science where it's like we already are so ignorant to it. The second you say BPC 157, I'm like, well, it must be good. You know, it just
Got a good
sounds so
name.
technical.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's got to be.
Somebody called it the Wolverine peptide. And I was like, I want to be Wolverine, right? You've heard all this shit, right? And
No, I don't spend time on social media. I don't.
Oh, it's so much fun.
I can't. Again, that's part of my longevity strategy. I cannot look. I mean, when I look at Instagram, like it never shows me that crap. Like it's showing me stand up. It's showing me gun videos, cars, F1.
Okay, the last thing I guess I was curious about is nicotine. That's the
Oh,
that's
yes.
my only real
Vice.
Maybe not my only, but one of the vices that I'm drawn to. And I know there's so much conflicting research, nootropic, what if that even means anything.
Yeah.
So how do you use nicotine?
I mean, most days I probably don't, except for the toothpicks, which I love. But you know, if I do, I'll probably do 3 milligram pouch once a day. The data are, I mean, obviously you have to separate tobacco from nicotine. So tobacco is the problem, not nicotine, and most nicotine is synthetic. But you have to make sure of that. So there's probably a downside in tobacco-derived nicotine, even without a combustion product. So be mindful of that. So I always tell people, kind of make sure you're using synthetic synthetic nicotine. It does have high potential for addiction, so you kind of have to be super careful about that. That tends to become a bigger issue the higher the dose goes. So, you know, if you're keeping it below 5-6 milligrams a day, your potential for dependency is low. But, you know, once you're into the 20-30 milligrams a day, your potential for dependency is very high. It can definitely interfere with sleep. So people doing it later in the day are going to potentially, if not likely, impede their sleep.
what's the half-life for nicotine?
I should know that, and I don't remember.
Are we talking 6 hours, 2 hours?
I did a podcast on this where if someone's interested, they can go back, and it was actually kind of recent. It was probably like, I mean, I recorded it probably 6 months ago, but it probably came out 3 months ago. Long enough that I wouldn't do it, you know, I wouldn't do it kind of later in the day if you're struggling with sleep. You know, there's probably for some people some short-term cognitive benefit, but it can be offset by the withdrawal as well. It's also an interesting molecule in that at one dose, it creates sort of heightened awareness. And then as the dose gets higher, it creates relaxation. So that's in some ways kind of the benefit of it. I don't know if you noticed that, but at a certain dose, it's really calming. It's not activating. It's quite calming.
But I always feel like the first hit of it is activating.
Yes.
Really locks you in. I didn't think about it as a relaxation medicine. I don't know if I want to even call it medicine. That's interesting. Pretty awesome, this nicotine.
It is. It's you know, I would say it's got obviously a very, very bad rap through tobacco.
Yeah.
As it should in that way. But I don't know. I just caution people not to go too crazy on it. I think, you know, I've got friends that they're taking 30 milligrams worth of pouches a day and they can't stop. And so I think in that situation, I would be concerned.
Yeah. That's great.
All right. Well, listen, Dr. Attia, we appreciate you coming here, bestowing your boxing knowledge and then some longevity stuff. Congratulations on your New York Times best-selling book. I think it's been on there for like 100 weeks or something like that. It's pretty insane. Wow. Seems like people want to live. So we are going to continue tuning in. I'm really looking forward to this thing that you're building. I think that would be...
Well, when I'll tell you this, when we have it out, we can talk about it fully and lock in on it. Yeah.
That'd be really cool. But because I think it's something that we all need. I think one of the scariest things about longevity is knowing what information to trust.
It's signal to noise.
Yes. And I think that's the same thing with politics. I think it's the same thing with, God, everything. I mean, nutrition especially. Every day somebody's telling me something that's good, and then the next day, actually, it causes cancer. So, you know, really what I'd like to congratulate you on is it feels like you've been quite disciplined. I think there are a lot of people that are in your field. They get a lot of exposure and notoriety, and they very quickly cash in and they stamp some supplement thing, and they could make, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars on it. But if it's actually bullshit that doesn't do anything, maybe we lose trust. And I haven't seen you do that. And I'm sure you've been given a million different opportunities to do that. So I think that that's really cool, and you've chosen to be disciplined, and because of that, we trust you. And thank you so much for sharing your time, my brother.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.